Just give it a second.
Open up Task Manager and see sometimes when you try to go open the build, the build will start running, but it won't actually, like, nothing will pop up.
Oh, I see it. Oh, hi, there we are. Okay, wonderful. We are working. So, just looks a little bit different. So, this is not our typical screen because we have made progress. And I want to start off with, I am so proud of my team. This past build, we have made leaps and bounds from what you guys saw before. So what this is our login screen. Thank you to Todd for giving us advice this build on how to get that up and running with PlayFab. So now we have accounts, and you can track your high score, all of your power-ups, everything like that. So as you log in, it will take you to our main screen, which has updated UI. With this build, we can now branch out. We have our shop, which has places for all of our cool things are going to be held. And then we also have options, audio controls, music volume, sound effects, because that's also a new thing to show you for this build. Aesthetics and such, there's going to be DLC afterward. And our leaderboards and everything. We're going to be tying this in with PlayFab as well. So this is really coming together. And then as we hit start, we also have our main run, our story, game controls, and power-ups. I'd like to get to our build here. So the first thing you're going to see is we've got a lot more artwork. Our artists worked really hard this past sprint. Atlas, our dog, has been to the gym. He's really buffed up, and now he can actually move, which is great. And then we also have Ego moving around, so it's really added a new level of depth to our game. If you listen carefully, because I believe I turned the volume down, our enemies are giving feedback when you sting them throughout their voices. And then also in the background we have just more aesthetics and more depth in our world. We've got our background chairs set up, we've got, oh, and I've died. Lots of things coming up. Also, let me play again really quick. We took your feedback into account with this build, and one of the problems that we ran into was that wall of death from our random spawn. So what we've done is we've put in our own difficulty chunks. So we have 3 of them for you to test today. There are a total of 10 of them with 15 patterns. And the reason we did that is that when you encounter enemies, you'll no longer hit that wall of death, and you'll actually be able to learn and get better as the patterns will be the same each time. So, just to demonstrate that very quickly, they are no longer spawning in rows of 3. So, that is what we have for Sprint 4. Thank you very much. Out of all of these windows that I opened. Alright, there you go.
Man, this computer's being slow. So, this past milestone, we tried to just, we cleaned up the map a little bit. I went through and cleaned up the menu more so it looks a lot more natural and not just a black screen or anything. One of the things that we had added in, we have a decal editor now. This still needs a lot of work, it's just the first iteration, but you can now add different items, you can now add different art pieces to the decal editor and save it, so when we get to the point and we're playing the game, you can when you tag buildings or tanks or anything, it'll actually spawn your decal on there, and for you to tag it, whatever you for whatever you made. So, and in just the normal turf tag, we added more shooting. We added actual shooting. We're still working on getting it tagged. Like I said, we went through and kind of cleaned up the map a little bit. We now can die and spawn again. We would need another player to do that. But another thing that we did, I was just kind of messing around with it. We've added, we kind of have it to where you can now paint surfaces. It's still very, very buggy and all that, but it's a work in progress, and it's coming together pretty good. Thank you.
Hello everybody, Ian here, project lead for Firebreak. Right, this sprint was heavily focused on getting the character stats to completely function with the player character itself right now. So a lot of what goes into what affects the player's health, their movement speed, the accuracy of their weapons and all of that, we have finally quantified. And not only that, but we now have a system to increase or decrease these through a progress bar. So as it stands right now, we have a progress bar that will show if you increase or decrease in level depending on how many points that you're putting into everything, as well as how much it's going to cost. Since we are in the building phase, or the alpha test for this, we want to give players a chance to actually spend as much money as they want. So if you click on your gold, you can just go crazy with big cash injection. But if you end up committing to these changes, your character sheet will then update to show these new stats. So as it stands right now, it shows your health, your power points, and all of that, as well as your level where the player's profile will go. But it'll only commit if you pay for the upgrades. So when you do that, you're now going to have changes to all of your stats. A lot of our stuff is behind the work once again, considering how integral the character is going to be to the entire game. We also have removed the, I guess, the visual debug for our accuracy, so now the player is not entirely aware of... Actually, that might not be that easy to see. Let's try aiming outside of the ship here, so that way you can see it kind of going across the wall back and forth for their accuracy. So a majority of this build was focused on character progression and the integration of their stats, as well as being able to upgrade those through the menu now with our own economy. For our next build, we're going to be focusing on a lot of quality of life stuff, as well as a few wish list sort of things that I want to try and get into our build before we're done for the semester. And that pretty much covers what we got. Hope to see you guys for our final build, and possibly next semester.
Hello everyone, I'm Donald Shepis, team lead for Trident, and this semester, this milestone, like we've been doing the entire time, we've had progress on both the tools end for the digital version of the game, as well as the primary play pieces that we're working on for the physical version. So I'll start by showing off our PlayFab build. This was something Michael Shepard put together. It's basically creating the spine on which all of our game systems are going to be built in the digital version. He's been handling all the PlayFab link-ups, sorting out inventories, everything like that. So I can go in, and I've got an account on PlayFab, so I can log in, and then I can say, okay, well, let's get the title ID. So now we have a way to just pull the any changes that we have to the game. And then we can also load in the info as well as the inventory that you have. And it's all super basic right now, but as we get those things connected, when we then build the actual system that's going to be visual for the player in the game, we don't have to do any work on the back end to get it hooked up with PlayFab, which is going to make the eventual implementation of the digital version a lot faster. And then the next build I have is going to be hard for people to see because it is in fact our mobile dice roller build. So like before, I can go in, I can roll my dice, I can increase the number of dice, roll it on the phone, and it's there, it's checking for successes, it's completely ready to be linked up with any other systems. Again, the digital version of the game, there's kind of this weird, the progress isn't necessarily synced up to make one thing because we're just worried about building tools right now. However, for the digital version of the game, the focus of this sprint for us was building out the strategic and battle maps. So that way we have new and updated art, and that's kind of the last piece of the puzzle for us to be able to playtest the entire game experience accurately. So to start, we've got our strategic map, which basically outlines, here's your deployment point, and visually, as opposed to having to go into the book and flip through and look, okay, here's the list of planets I can go to, I can say, my guy's on the green station. Because they're on the green station, I can count out how many hexes it is to the planet that the Leviathan's attacking, and I know my response time. And we know, based on where we have our tridents on those stations, where they can go. And so it's a lot less flipping through, it's a lot more immediately visually apparent. We also have little clues that players will be able to look at. You'll be able to look at in the bottom, we've got 0109. And that's a different art asset than the other planets because that is our Arctic region planet. And so when we go and fight on the Arctic region planet, we would then use the Arctic planet battle map. And we've got a bunch of different environment types that we're going to be trying out on our playtest today. We've got our Arctic planet, coastal, desert, temperate, and I went too many. There's only those many. But we'll be trying those out along with some new rules we have for different environment tiles and what they do in regards to Trident and Leviathan movement as well as their abilities. And that's kind of the body of our playtest. So we're going to be testing those out, as well as previously in the game, we had all of the conventional units stationed on the stations or on the individual planets. And to give the players an extra level of strategy, we've now changed those. You're going to have these little fleet tokens, and you're able to put them down on this map. And where you put them down determines where those units will be able to deploy. So not are you just selecting where your tridents are going to go, but you're also moving that fleet around the map to provide the best coverage for the Leviathan that are coming to attack the planets. And with all of those, we're looking forward to doing our playtest today. 2 milestones ago, we had a group. We'd like to get you guys back if you're available today, so that we've got people who have experience with the game playtesting it, so that we kind of get into the meat of it and test the new things and not worry about explaining how you play the game. We look forward to doing that, and we look forward to making changes based on that and making the last final touches we need for Trident for the next milestone and hopefully having version 1 of the document done. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Todd, lead for SiegeBots. We made a few changes specifically to the AI designer. First we have to build a bot. So that's the first change. If you don't have any bots, it'll tell you don't have bots and it won't let you do anything. So go to the bot builder. We'll just make a really quick, simple bot again. Something we added was snap rotation. So that's a commonly requested feature that's now in. So we go back here. Made a lot of changes to how the state machine editor itself works. I'm really proud of this feature. It's just the Bezier curves. It looks a lot nicer even though it doesn't really change anything. You can now drag the state machine transition onto another state to automatically create transitions instead of having to create a transition then drag it onto the other state. Kind of just simplifies that workflow a little bit. Another thing is you can reuse the same transitions for multiple states so that you don't have to kind of just remake the same transition over and over to transition to one state. And another commonly requested feature is ask you if you would like to save before exiting. Just go ahead and do that. And this is our new level that kind of want to show off. Sherry made. Is there anything specific you'd like me to show? Yeah, it's very pretty. And we fixed the issue of placing bots through the UI. So that's kind of what we've accomplished for this sprint, and thank you.
Alright. Hello everybody, I'm Alex, lead for Render Rebellion. So first off, I'm going to show off some of the stuff that we have been working on that we have not been able to get into the build yet. And first things first is what our goals were for the sprint, which was trying to get more user experience lined out and get that done so that we can have a prototype ready so that Doug and Daryl, our stakeholders, can go and pitch it to actually other people and hopefully get this game actually rolling. We've also been more focused on our characters and our main level. So our characters, this is from Matthew Dubois. He actually has this all textured and whatnot. We are working on getting it animated so we can get it into the build, ready and all finalized. And then you have John Goodall. He's also working on texturing, so once he's done texturing, we can get that all animated and that into the build as well. It's all of our assets that are not pretty much in game right now. Oops. So the majority of this sprint, like I said, has been working on user experience. So we have a bug list and a user feedback list that we've been hashing out. Pretty much have that almost all done. And then one of the major things that we've worked on this sprint was our lighting in the scene. So our lighting looks really different than what it usually does. And then if you listen closely, we do have sound in right now. We don't have all of our sound in yet, but we have most of it. So if I go in and play. So this is pretty much our new lighting. We've spent a lot of hours reworking it, trying to get it to where it's optimized, so we have optimized performance, and then also it looks good. Then if you look, we have a lovely chat box that's working. I don't have anybody to chat with right now, but that is all up and working as well, so that you can have chat in game. And then we have down here, which we have changed to a nice purple color. Last thing I want to show off is, so our camera system, we used to have a own custom camera system that Chase has made for us, but we used to have a lot of collision problems of it, just like you running into something and just doing some really weird movement that just really bad for gameplay. So Chase actually went through and used this new thing Unity is using called Cinemachine. So now we have Cinemachine in here, and we have Collider, the Cinemachine Collider on our camera, so it just flows and just works a lot more smoothly than it used to work. For this next sprint, yeah, we're going to finish polishing, get those characters in, and hopefully be done for the end of the semester. Thank you.
Hi, good morning. My name is Austin Harrington, team lead on Communication Meltdown. We have had an interesting sprint, so let me take you through some of the changes we can show. We've actually got a bunch of stuff in prep for the Greenlight celebration, but we have had some fairly significant changes. So one of the things that we really wanted to focus on is improving the graphical fidelity of our game. Some of us just got back from GDC. We saw what the competition looked like, and we really wanted to beef out the way the game looks. And so we've started doing some shader scripting, working on some particle effects that some of which has made it into the game so far. We'll see a little bit more of that in a minute. As you can see, we are having to use our wrist right now. That is something that we are in the process of troubleshooting, but we've been getting our interactive elements into the game. We had already shown buttons, but we have dials. We have several different kinds of levers. We've got stuff to do. This is some stuff that's kind of been in the background because we were trying to get some of the other core features in, but we're finally seeing our IK local movement system alongside our actual interactivity. And having been in the headset myself, it feels great. Moving on, again, we're just kind of showing what we've got so far, and we should be moving into some of the graphical changes here in a moment. So our health bar in the game, the way that the players will judge their progress is by looking at the liquid coolant in our reactor. As it gets lower, the players are in more danger of losing. And so we wanted to have a really interesting look for the way that our coolant looks. And so as you can see, we've been this is a first pass at our shader, but we've also worked on the fog particle effect and some of the lighting to really make it look a little bit more impressive. Again, we have a bunch more stuff we want to show that didn't make it into this build, so look forward to our next presentation in 3 weeks because we think you're going to be really impressed. Thank you.
Alex, you want to wrap up?
Awesome. So great job, leads. Everyone on the projects, they look really good, looking good, and hope to see them nice and polished by the end of week 14. So make sure after this you guys can go lunch, go to team meetings, get your sprint planning done, make sure you get all that done. Submit everything hopefully today or by Sunday because our due dates are now Sundays. And then make sure you're in the comments for playtesting, go play someone else's build, give them feedback. Yeah, nice work.
Very cool. Give yourselves another round of applause. All right, we're really looking forward to that final build. It sounds like everybody's promising a lot of extra stuff, so we look forward to that. Remember that this milestone is slated for bug fixing and polish. You want to make sure that you've got a running build at the end, so make sure that you don't put too much stuff in that might crash your build. So we'll talk more about that in the leads meeting. Go make games. Excellent job. Whew.